Okay, today we're going to do a simple lathe part, so you want to open up your lathe template first. Hopefully you've got that done from a previous lab. It's basically like the, similar to the mill template, except it's a different size part. So I've got some extra dimensions on mine to show you how big to make it. Delete these for now. Yours should be looking just basically like this. I'm going to change mine to red so you guys can see it better on the video here. Change it to yellow. Typically dim is red or cyan though. And that's a lot better. Okay, so that shows up better on the overhead, but I'd leave it red if you have it on yours, or magenta, which is kind of like a pinkish purple. Those are kind of the two main colors they usually use. Got that set up. I'm going to go to split screen here. So this is the part we're going to make. It's not too complicated. It's a simple part. Basically, you're looking at the front view of it, and this is a side view, or basically, so it's a rod, okay? And it's a 3/4 inch rod. I think the most parts we're going to be making are 1 inch, but this one's 3/4 inch. Your template should be like this, 375. So what you're doing when you're drawing a lathe is when you're machining on a lathe, is this part spins around in circles at whatever RPM you tell it. The codes are very similar. The big difference is the way the lathe is set up is X is up and down where the Y normally is. So that really throws a lot of people out. And Z is where the X is. So Z is kind of coming out at you if you're looking at this round rod, and it's to the left and right as we're drawing. Okay, so that's why on the template we labeled it X-axis is up and down. Even though my UCS is showing up, X and Y, we usually don't spin that, so don't let it confuse you. We label the up and down as X, so this would be 375 tall in the X, okay? This is 0 in the X. And then the Z is where the X normally is, and this is 0 and this is 3 inches out. And that's the part we're going to start with, is a simple 3 by 3/4 block. We only draw the top half because the bottom half is exactly the same, okay, because it spins around the center point. And then you basically stick a knife in it and it shaves off metal. Wood lathe works exactly the same way. Okay, so we're going to draw this first, and then after we get done doing that, we'll write the G codes. There is a G92 in this one. Again, it's similar to what we talked about before, that the tool is at a certain point, which is called machine 0, and it just sits there, and then you have to tell it where you're going to write the code from. We're going to write the code from, if you stick a 3/4 inch piece in a chuck, almost like a drill chuck, but it's bigger, you stick it in there and it's going to spin. We're going to make the 0 on the far left of the part, okay, far left center. Okay, so it's a distance. The G92 needs to know what the distance is from where the machine thinks the 0 is to where you're programming it from 0. Okay, so that is 6.705 in the in the Z on our machine, and 2.213 in the X. And notice X is up and down and Z is left to right. Okay. We're going to include both the different programming on this, but we're going to do rough cuts and finish cuts. But like I said, we'll go into the programming a little bit later. Okay. Now, when you're writing a code for the item, first thing you want to do is draw it. Okay. So let's just do that first, and then we'll go into the rest of this later. Okay. So we've got the customer gave us a part right here. We want to draw it based upon that. We're going to end up with this eventually down here. Okay. But this is where we're going to start right here. So we just want to draw the top half. So you should have a template that looks like this. That's basically if you don't have one drawn yet, it's basically a 3/8 tall rectangle, 3 inches long, and then explode it and take this line, stretch it, and turn it to a center line. Stretch it with a grip, basically, and then throw coordinate dimensions on it. All right, so let's start drawing it. Everybody should be capable of drawing that to begin with, so I'm not going to have that in the video. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we've already got this line out here to 3, and we need to probably do our. There's lots of ways to do this. Probably do our horizontal lines first. There's only a couple of them. Okay, so remember, we're always doing half of these numbers that's given on a customer print. So let's start from the smallest one. It's 0.4, so we want to go offset 0.2 up. Okay, now we're just going to do the center line and offset it up. That'll be fine, and we'll probably trace it after that. So over offset, Okay. So I picked over offset and it's wanting to know a distance. So the first distance is half of 0.4, so 0.2, okay, is our distance. Hit enter. Now pick the green line and pick side you want on, which is on top, okay? And then we go over here and look at the next one. Remember, the whole thing is 3/4. The next one is 5/8 up, so which is 0.625. So half of that is 0.3125. So I'm gonna hit enter to finish offset, enter to repeat it, and this distance is 0.3125 or 5/16. Either way it works. Okay. And again, pick the green line, pick the side you want on, which is top. Notice I'm picking way up, so it's not snapping to anything. All right. Now, I do have snaps and everything turned on mine. Don't I? Yeah. I'm not turning ortho on yet. I might turn on a little bit. Okay, I think that's all the horizontals. There's not any more. There's going to be a little one here, I guess. How far down is it? It's 0.1. I guess we can go ahead and draw that as well. So there's one that's 0.1, okay, in the X and Y down there. Okay, and that's the top green line has to come back down 0.1 because there's going to be a chamfer on the end to keep the sharp edge off. So let's do enter to finish it, enter to repeat it, and 0.1 is the distance this time. And pick the top green line, and I'll set it down. And notice how close it is to the other one. Okay, so we got to be really careful when we draw this thing that we pick the right one because it's just barely above it. Okay, I'm saying that for me as much as you. Okay, so it's the top one, it's 0.1. All right, now we need to do the horizontal lines. I mean the vertical lines. Okay, there's one over at 0.1, and then there's one over at 0.875 and 1.192, and then there's a 2.0. Okay. And we can do a little math here to do the rest of this. Okay. So let's do the offsets again. O for offset, or just hit enter to finish it and enter to repeat it. And first one's over 0.1 again, which it knows that we did last time. So pick the object, pick the side, enter to finish it, enter to repeat it. Next one is 0.875. And make sure you pick the first line, not the second one, the first line, and offset at 0.875 over, because all the dimensions are from the end. Okay. Enter to finish it, enter to repeat it. Next one is 1.192. First line again, pick side you want on. And the next one is 2.0. So enter to finish it, enter to restart it. 2, enter. Pick the object, pick side. Okay. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to trace this thing. So I always start from the left and go right, because when we get back over here, I can just tell the polar coordinate from let's see, from that point. I think if I did everything right, yeah, I can tell go over the right distance and tell the polar coordinate to go up. All right, I might have to go down from there actually. All right, so I picked polyline. Okay. I pick my start point, which is going to be, remember the one that was 0.1 down, it was, now it looks like on my snaps, I've got extension picked. Make sure you have it picked as well, okay? Because if you don't have it picked on your snaps, it won't, turn your snaps on, it won't grab that point. The center line's messing it up. It's not going through there. So I do have that selected, okay? So my start point is right here. So a little line up, and then I'm going to go up to the 3.125 one, which would be right here. It should look like basically a 45-degree angle, okay? And my polyline width is 0. Hopefully yours is the same thing as you can see in my command line down there, okay? If not, you can change that by changing the width when you start. So I keep going, and I'm going to go all the way to here. So we're going to this point next that we offset over, okay? And I'm keep going. I'm going to go down. Now this one you got to be tricky. Make sure you don't go to the 0.1. We want to go down to the second line. I'm way down there towards the bottom, because that was the 0.21. It's kind of hard to remember where all those are at sometimes. Now the next one, we're kind of in trouble there because we can't go. You can do some math here, but we're finished at this point, because if we go all the way over to here, we'll be going too far. Okay, so just hit enter to finish it. Okay, now it starts out at the very top here and goes down at a 45-degree. Okay, and there's a couple ways to do this. You can just draw a little bit extra along the line to get down to there, or you can at 45 degrees, or you can do some math in your head, which that's what I'm going to do. So how half of 3/8 is 375, of course. So 375 minus 0.2 is 0.175. So that distance down, since this is a 45 degree, it's the same amount over as it is down. So it's 0.1. It's this distance minus that distance. So 0.375 minus 0.2 is 0.175. So I'm just going to draw a regular polyline again, I guess. I'll pick right up here at the top of this one over here, okay? Picking right there. And I'm going to type in at. I'm going from that point, 0.175. Remember, AutoCAD's still working in the regular XY, even though we programmed the other way, comma. And it's down, so it's a negative 0.175, okay? 45 degrees, basically. You could also type in 0.175 negative 45 degree at negative 45 degree angle. And somehow I went too far, so I'm gonna hit undo. I must have snapped at that point. At 0.175, comma, negative 0.175. Y. There we go. So I've been right. You can see I went down straight 45 and I nailed that line, which is what I wanted. I come straight over here and finish that up. Okay, now next thing you want to do is you want to join those two poly lines. Okay, so the shortcut for that is J for join, and I'm going to walk around and see if anybody needs some help. Okay, so we basically have it drawn. I join those two together, and it's drawn now. So you can get rid of all your construction lines if you want that you didn't use. I usually leave the ones in there going horizontal or vertical. You can get rid of them or you can leave them. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. If it gets too much jumbled, I'll take them out, but for now, I'll leave them in there. It's a little trickier than it looks. We'll give you guys some time to finish that up. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, as long as you can draw the top half of that, it's not real complicated. Don't want to do it. Yeah, they're all capable. Okay, sorry, I forgot to pause the video. So whenever you program something on our lathe, at least, you have to take so much off. So a knife, basically, this knife comes across, comes down to directly above the part here, drops down, and it comes straight down, and it starts going straight over and starts cutting off material on this rod. Okay, that's the idea. The tip of it is sharp, and it basically is it cuts metal. Okay, but it's hardened carbide tip usually. So basically, and then it'll come back. It'll come either back up at an angle or go straight up. Usually back up at a little bit of an angle, drop back down, and continue to cut back and forth. So what we have to cut off is the maximum we can cut is 40 thousandths deep, right? And that's considered a rough cut. It's going to look bad because you're cutting so much. On a finished cut, you usually cut between 5 and 20, okay, depending on what works. We'll do, I think we're going to do 10 on this one, okay, but 20 is the max. And you don't want to do less than 5 because you won't even really see it. Okay, so depending on what size you're going with, sometimes you got to take more than or less than not an exact amount off because you're going down so far. You might have to break the 40 into 30 to make it all fit sometimes. Okay, so you're basically going to be offsetting that much every time. So we're going to do the 10 thousandths away for the finished cut on this one and 40 thousandths for the rough cut. All right, so every one of these basically has to go down 40 thousandths. So that's how much we're going to cut down. So on the top line here, we're going to offset that down 40 thousandths. We're basically trying to get to this right here, okay? And you can see, so what the knife does is it comes in here and it goes across, and it's going to cut 40 thousandths off, then it's going to come back up at an angle and go down again and continue to do that. So we need to offset it 40 down, okay? So I would change that top line to a different color. Okay, now granted it'll be a different color across here too, but it really doesn't hurt anything. So that way you can see it better. So we go over to properties here, and I haven't used green yet, so or light green, so I'm gonna make it light green. Okay, like I did in this picture here. And then I'm going to offset that 40 thousandths down until it gets to be just above the part, okay? And you've got to go down until you get it to at least 20 thousandths from it. So you just kind of you can eyeball it. Since this is 40, you know, that's roughly 1/4 of it is probably about 10. So I pick O for offset again. I type in 0.04, which is 40 thousandths. That's kind of how you'd say it at a machine shop. And you pick the green line, offset it down. Pick the green line, offset it down. Pick the green line, offset it down one more time. Okay, and you can see that's definitely less than half, so it should be less than 20. We should be good there. All right. Now we're going to take off 10 thousandths on the finish cut. All that means is we're basically going to trace along this blue line with our knife and cut it off. And we want to cut off 10 thousandths of it only on our finish cut. So we need to offset that blue line, on mine at least, that I joined, back up 10 thousandths. Okay. Like I said earlier, you can get away with 20 if you need to, but 10 will work fine here. You can check this distance if you're worried about it. I'm just basically typing DI for distance. And I'm going to check this just to see what it is. And it says it's 15, so it's less than 20, so it's fine. All right. So let's offset the blue line up 10 thousandths. O for offset 0.01, which is 10 thousandths. I pick the object and pick the side, put it on. Okay. All right, and at this point, now we need to trim off all those green lines so it looks like the picture here. Okay, so we want to use the blue line that we offset up and trim off, probably turn that one to green as well. Oops, I'm still on offset evidently. Escape. I'm going to turn that one green as well, just so I can, or some other color so I can see it. Dimensions are AL, maybe I'm ready to use the blue. Magenta, maybe, I can see it. All right, so I'm going to trim off all those lines based upon that magenta line here. So TR for trim. Okay, and I'm going to pick the object I want it to. Well, you're on a 2021 AutoCAD. So if you're on the old AutoCAD, you just pick the blue line to be your cutting surface. They updated it to be different, of course. So I'm going to pick cutting edges on 2021 and pick that. You just pick the blue line and hit the purple line or whatever and hit enter. Now I can trim off all these. So don't trim off this top one because you need it. I'm going to trim off that one. Oops, I got to hit enter first. Trim off that one. That one is trimming right up to it. Now make sure it's trimming to the purple line and not to the other one, okay? That's why I picked this. That's why I joined it, and that's why I used it as a cutting surface. It makes it a lot easier to do. So now I'm going to pick that one on there. And notice it should be keeping, yes, it's keeping the uns on this side, which is what I want. Okay. So basically this is showing us all the parts that are going to get cut off to create that surface. All right. And then the final one will be 10 thousandths all the way around. Okay, so you have that. Now one thing I usually do to kind of keep it from getting more confusing is we're going to be cutting it down, coming down to here, and then and leaving all this on here. So I'm going to get rid of this one too down here. So I'm going to pick trim, enter, and pick this as my cutting surface. Now I've got to go to cutting edges on 2021 and pick it and hit enter. And now I'm going to get rid of this polyline down there. Okay, so that, because when we cut, that's as low as we're going to go. Right there, that's the 40 thousandths. Because if I went down to the other one, that would be like 45 thousandths, which would be too much. Okay, so I cut off the bottom part of that pink or magenta line. I'll let everybody get that far. Now, notice how this is dimensioned. Okay, I want you to make sure you're dimensioning it the same way. I'll go through that here in a second. So this is probably a good place to save. So if you just created your template, make sure you save your template as template and turn it in, and then save this as Lab 6. Okay, so you don't want to have to redo your template every time. All right, so I'll go File, Save As. And this will be lab 6. I think it's probably week 2 for me. Evidently it's week 3. I changed all these numbers over. Yeah, it's lab 6-1. So 6-1. I'm going to put 2021 on mine. You don't need to do that. Okay. Now, when you made your template, your UCS, remember, you don't want to just grab it and move it. You got to type in UCS and move it. Otherwise, your ordinate dimensions will be off. So if you notice your ordinate dimensions are way off on this thing, it might be because you moved your UCS wrong. You can always type in UCS, enter, and W for world, enter, and they'll put it back to world. And then type UCS and put it where it belongs right here, okay, to get it back. For instance, I'll just do it UCS, because I'm sure some people are going to run into this problem. W for world. So I brought it back down to the bottom of my screen here. Now if I want to put it where it goes, I type UCS. You can't just pick it and move it. If you pick it and move it, the ordinate dimension just doesn't work out right. I type UCS and I make sure I put it in the right spot. Hit enter. Okay. All right, I think we're ready to dimension this thing. So hopefully you've got your dimensions set up like we said in the previous video for making this template. The main thing that we changed was we changed the scale to 0.3, I think. So I'm going to check that. D for dimension style. Modify. So we're only making 1. Check the fit. And primary units. It's good. Fit. Scale is 0.4. 0.4, 0.3. It's all good. I'm going to change it to 0.3. Like a little smaller. It'll size text it. I make it 0.15. Yep. Okay. Close. Okay, that shrunk it down a little bit so you can fit things in there a little bit more. All right, so now you want to basically start putting all these dimensions on here. Okay, and they should be exactly the same as mine. Only one that might be slightly different is this one. Now notice how we're doing these dimensions. Okay, so the ones on the bottom are the dimensions for the part. Okay, that's very important because we'll use them when we do our finish cut, and it'll be less confusing that way. So notice the vertical dimensions and the horizontal dimensions are all touching the part on the bottom. Okay, so that basically completely dimensions the part. All the other ones are up top, and those are for our rough cuts. Okay, so you can do them all at once. It goes real fast doing that. I'm going to do try to get larger so you can see it here. Okay, so I'm basically going to dimension that now. I just go to annotate, pick drop down of ordinate. Okay. And I'm going to pick the first one right here. We do one thing I forgot, so we need to have a little safety factor of 100,000ths out there. So let's offset that too. So offset 0.1, and that gets us far enough away from the part when we come back and we program it that it doesn't crash into the edge of the part. If somebody say the part got cut to 3.06 long. A lot of times the parts are cut on a saw, so they're not very accurate. So you need to make sure you got a safety distance for your machine tool to go back. It's moving at high speed when you're not in a tool. Okay, now we go back to dimensioning ordinates. And let me get this one first. I do have my snaps turned on. Probably going to go to the chlorite layer again here. Keep forgetting everything. Go to the right layer. And one more time, ordinate dimensioning. So that should be 3.1. Looks like I got 3.0 already done down there, so I'm not going to redo it. And now I'm just dimensioning where the tool is going to go to all the times, okay? So these, and just keep them a little bit separated. So this is where my tool is going to go. I do need to see here. Yeah, I am going to need that one as well. Okay. Okay, so the tool will basically come over and up and back over when we do the tooling here in a little bit. And then I need this one. Notice that is slightly different. When did I get there? I'm not sure I got the right one. I'm going to do it over. So when you're dimensioning, make sure you get this one on the rough cut right. They're real close together. It wouldn't make a huge difference. It would still work, but it's not really right. Hopefully I did it right the first time last year. Yes, I did. Okay, so if your numbers are slightly off, that's probably because you picked the wrong spot. Okay. And we'll go from there down to here next. This one should be right here. These are a little bit easier. Not any that you can mess up unless you're not careful. Should be getting all the same numbers as we got there. Okay, so that's all my rough cut ones up there. I need the ones right to left, I guess. So that'd be these here, okay? I'm just hitting enter to repeat the command. Okay, I'm not going to use that first one because it's not enough to worry about, so I'm not going to use that one. That's why it's not on there. That would be the first one we actually use right there. Okay. Remember, 375 is actually on the part itself, so that's up here. I'll probably move that one to the grips just so you can see it better. There we go. Okay. So those are all the rough cut ones. Those are the ones that are not touching the part. Okay. Now we're going to do the ones that are touching the part, and we're going to put them down below. Okay, try to make them similar to what I have there. That's why they're below it. So we'll need basically all the places where the part is. So that 3.0 is already done. So I need this one, which is a 2.9. Okay. And I'll need the bottom of this on the part, which is right here, 213. Okay. There's a 215 here, but I don't even need to do that, so I'm going to leave it off. That one's kind of, well, that's for over there. That's what that one is. All right. And this one I'm going to go zoom in and make sure I get in the right spot. That's right here on that part. 313. Okay, and that goes all the way over here, and the same one there. And down here on the part. 2.0. I did miss a dimension right here. Okay, the rough cut. So there's one rough cut right here too. I need the location of this one. So that's at 215, right? So I kind of forgot about that one there until I didn't remember what that was for. But we do need to be able to go over to here. So it needs to come all the way across because it is a rough cut. Okay, but it's not on the part. That'll kind of help remind us it's a rough cut. All right, and so I've got that one, 313. And I need this one down below, and this one down below, and this one down below, and this one down below. I think that's it. I put them in slightly different place. I put 2.0 over there instead of over here, but same thing. If you want to add another 375 in there, you can, just kind of help remind you that this is 375. You don't necessarily need it because it's also on a rough cut. Okay, and so it should look just exactly like that one. It's another good place to save. Okay, I'm going to finish this video and start another one for the machining one. So make sure all your numbers should match this exactly. If they don't, you probably did something a little bit off.